Hey guys, it's Elisa Rose. I am driving through New Mexico. We're headed west towards Winslow, Arizona. I had done a video last week in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and somebody had actually, they wrote in asking if I could do a video about dog car motion sickness or dog car anxiety. And I think the two really go hand in hand. So I actually am really interested in this topic, and I think it's kind of crazy that I don't have a video on this so far. So I thought it would be really appropriate to do a video while we're driving. So I'm here with my dogs. You can see Frodo's actually resting in my lap, and that's Beatrix right here, the white terrier. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about exactly what type of symptoms we're looking for when we're assessing or diagnosing and saying that a dog has anxiety or has motion sickness. So things that you might see is that the dog there's some change in activity. So a dog could actually become very hyperactive in the car, or you might see that they are really inactive. Some dogs will actually kind of go like underneath seats or things like that, like they're nervous, curl up into a ball. Other things that we commonly see are drooling, we see stress whining, we see vomiting. All right, so and then going with that idea of a dog being hyperactive in a car, we could see that they're doing a lot of pacing or vocalizing a lot, even when you stop and see maybe like people coming outside, right? So all of this kind of falls in line with the idea that the dog is nervous and or uncomfortable in some way. So whether that's emotional or that's physical, again, the two really go hand in hand, and you could kind of argue, it's like the chicken and the egg type thing, what came first. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about a dog that is either anxious in the car or has motion sickness. But the next thing that I want to talk about is what to do about it. So the first thing that I think is really important to consider is how we're managing that problem. If your dog is truly becoming sick or truly becoming anxious in the car, I think it's a really good idea to think about minimizing the amount that you're taking your dog in the car. All right, so I know that that's really hard. I'm the type of person that loves my dogs to be very involved with my life and my day-to-day activities. However, it's something that I think is a very necessary aspect. So even with Frodo here, he came to us about 3 years ago, and he was extremely anxious in the car. He would pace, he would stress whine, he would just clamor and like scratch at the doors and at the windows, and it was very extreme. And I basically stopped taking him on car rides for about 2 years. All right, so that was one way that I managed it while I worked on some of the training stuff, and that's what I want to talk about next. So management is one aspect, and I do want to say that kind of take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, if you need to take your dog to the vet, if there's just things that you really want them to be involved with, I'm not saying that they should absolutely be excluded from everything. We just want to make sure that we're kind of minimizing it, and that if we feel that there's things that you need them to do, then obviously go ahead and make that judgment call. But the next part is going to be training. All right, so the first thing that I like to start off with is mat work. Okay, so having a dog associate like a mat, or in this case it's even more ideal if it's kind of like a blanket or something like that. It really could be anything. So even just something like soft fabric like this that just kind of conforms better to a car than a mat that I would use in a house that has like a rubber base. So I do a lot of calming exercises on that mat or on that blanket, and it just basically reinforces the dog for going to that area. It develops a positive association with it, it's something that we can take anywhere. So once we've kind of done the foundation work with that, we bring out the mat. A lot of times you see your dog's emotional state completely change, and that's really helpful when we're talking about a dog that is experiencing a lot of stress or anxiety. So that's the number one thing, is your foundation work. The next thing that I think is really helpful that I want to see from a dog is that they're comfortable jumping in and out of the car. So before I work on anything else, I just get the dog really comfortable jumping into the car. I'll give them some high value treats, maybe for 10 to 15 seconds, and then I'll have them jump out of the car, and I might give them a few more treats, and I'll do that in repetition, usually about 3 to 5 times. That's my training session, and then I'll call it there, and we go inside, and that's it. It's really simple, but basically what I want them to see is just kind of think about their initial thought with the car is just that it's this fun activity that they're doing. If your dog has trouble jumping in and out of the car, then you can use a ramp. That's something that we're actually using on this car trip right now. And it's the same idea. So just get the dog, think of it almost like you're doing agility with your dog, where you're just getting them to participate in jumping or walking up, basically like a dog walk. It should be fun. Your dog should be engaged. If they're not interested in taking the food, or if they just seem kind of disinterested in it, disengaged, then don't push it. That means that you're gonna need to take it a little bit slower and break it up into smaller pieces. But the first bit with the car is just really jumping in and out. The next thing that I'll do is I like to just sit with dogs in the car when it's stationary. So your car can be in your driveway. Have your dog jump in. Hopefully at this point they're jumping in of their own free will, not that you have to carry them or force them in there, or coerce them to do that in any way. So they'll jump in. You can have your mat down at that point, and it's Ami peeking from the back. Say hi, Ami. So now they're in the car, and you're just going to have your mat down, and maybe you just want to respond to some emails, or you want to make a phone call, or you bring a book or something like that. Just hang out with your dog in the car for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. You just want them to be comfortable with being in that space. You can still bring some high value food with you, and just kind of giving it to them throughout that time. All right, and then 5 or 10 minutes passes, and you're just gonna get out of the car, call it a day. That's it. From there, once I see that the dog is really comfortable kind of taking food in that situation, they're able to offer behaviors in that situation. So if they know well-established training behaviors like sit or down, you can kind of work with them in that type of situation. All right. The next bit is short car rides. Now, when I'm talking about a short car ride, I'm literally talking about maybe like a 60-second to a 90-second car ride. So that might mean just going like down your driveway and back, or down the road and back, maybe around the block. But it should be really short, and it should be really simple. And then once you get back from that, if your dog seems to be exhibiting any stress signals at all, I would just sit there for like an additional 5 minutes with them, and then if and when they're ready, maybe giving them a couple of treats at that point. But assuming that they became anxious or they became sick in any way, it might take them a little bit of time to recover from that. So take it slow, give them some treats, then get out of the car with them, and then again, call it a day. That's it. So notice the theme here is keeping it short and simple. All right, and once I have a dog that seems to really be comfortable with those types of scenarios, then I'll start to kind of push it a little bit more, driving maybe just, to a nearby park. I tried to keep those initial car rides really simple and very quiet, and going to places where there's just not going to be a lot of traffic and a lot of activity that might overstimulate the dog. It's a process, it's a slow process, and know, so I don't know that everyone is going to be able to follow that protocol, but to me, that's the best way to get the most genuine results with a dog that is truly anxious. And like I said, Frodo is right here with me right now. A year ago, I don't think that he would have been capable of doing a car ride like this. So just to give you an idea, again, he was pacing, stress whining. He would never be able to settle in the car like he's settling right now. And it was really the result of just doing a lot of the foundation stuff with him that got him to be this comfortable. So I just want to end this video with a kind of like an overview of things that you're looking for. So I like to kind of think about like green light feedback, like things that you're seeing from your dog that are telling you like you're on the right track. And this can be applied to lots of different things in behavioral training, but as this applies to dogs that have anxiety in the car, I'm looking to see that if I'm doing training with a dog, that they're responsive to well-established cues. So like if I'm asking them to jump in or jump out or wait or go into the back of the car or things like that, behaviors that I would train separately, I should be seeing that the dog is pretty responsive to that. I want to see my dog is able to take food pretty easily when they're in that situation. So high value food, there should be no question. They should be comfortable taking it. That's a green light signal. Another thing is just that the dog is exhibiting relaxed body language. And so this is, you know, that's what I would call a relaxed dog, right? And Frodo here too, resting on my lap. Red light feedback. So things that your dog might be doing that is telling you that you need to slow down a little bit. I would say, you know, it's the flip side of the coin. So your dog is not responsive to well-established cues. Your dog is not showing interest even to very high value food. And your dog is exhibiting signs of anxiety or motion sickness like we spoke about before. So pacing, vocalizing, drooling, any of those things, right? Those should be things that are telling you that you really need to slow down. It takes time, and like I said, just to kind of give people an idea of what I mean by that, with Frodo, for about 2 years, I really didn't take him on car rides except to like the vet or like a nearby park or like little trips, just like very short trips around our neighborhood. That was it, because that was how anxious he got. And now the result is we're able to do this cross-country road trip, or not cross-country, but week road trip with him, and he's genuinely enjoyed this whole ride. He's been doing amazing with it. So again, this video was done because somebody had requested it, and I really appreciate those requests. If you guys are watching this right now, and if there's anything that you really want to know about and get more insight into, let me know. Write it in the comments, and I can make a video about that in the future. All right, so we'll be doing a few more road trip videos this coming week, so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon.